The hall of relics was colder than the rest of the academy light. From the ceiling, panels fell in pale strips across glass cases that held weapons from 100. Worlds' blades of energy shimmered in silent arcs. Crystal spears pulsed with trapped storms. Dense gravity hammers rested on reinforced mounts. The center of the chamber stood a long black platform. Upon it lay a row of ancient weapons under a gray cover. Combat Class 7, weighted in a loose semicircle. Scaled Rithians stood tall and rigid. Broad-shouldered Drox shifted with heavy breaths. Silver-eyed Solari watched with quiet focus, and near the edge stood one human cadet. Mara Ionescu kept her hands clasped behind her back. Instructor Vela stepped forward. Today we study historic blades. He pulled away. The cover 5 weapons rested on the platform. 4 glowed with dormant power cores. The 5th looked dull and simpler. Length of steel with a crossguard and worn leather grip. Several cadets exchanged amused glances. The Drox let out a low rumble. That one has no emitter, no gravitic assist. Vela noted it is a human longsword recovered from Earth's estimated age. 800 years primitive. The word came from a Rithian without hesitation. Mara said nothing. Vela gestured to the weapons. Observe, balance, consider design, intent. The cadets stepped forward eagerly toward the advanced pieces. Energy sabers hummed to life in brief, controlled bursts. Gravity edges adjusted their weight with soft pulses. The steel sword remained untouched. A moment. Mara stepped closer. May Vela inclined his head. Proceed. She wrapped her hand around the leather grip and lifted. The blade rose smoothly. Her wrist adjusted slightly. Her stance shifted. Then she frowned. Why is this so badly balanced? Stay quiet. Laugh moved through the group. The Solari tilted her head. It lacks internal stabilization. Of course it is unbalanced. Mara rolled her shoulder and gave the blade a slow test swing. The tip pulled forward. The arc finished with weight. Note, she said calmly, it is tip heavy but not wrong. You are just thinking about it incorrectly. The Drox crossed his arms. Mara stepped back and placed one foot behind the other. You are all used to neutral, balance-centered, mass-designed for speed. This was built for momentum. She guided the blade through a controlled downward cut. The air made a faint hiss. Weight at the end carried through the swing. It wants to finish the motion. Vela watched carefully demonstrate on a target. A dense polymer pillar was activated at the far side of the hall. It was designed to resist plasma scoring. The Drox activated his energy blade first. He struck hard. The plasma edge burned deep into the pillar. The surface warped and bubbled. He stepped back, satisfied. Mara approached with the steel sword resting near her shoulders. She inhaled once, then stepped forward. Her body moved as one unit. The blade came down in a clean descending arc. There was a sharp crack. The pillar split in two. Both halves fell apart with smooth inner surfaces. No melting, no distortion, just separation. Silence filled the chamber. The Rithian blinked, slowly. Pure kinetic transfer. Vela examined the cut clean edge. No hesitation in the strike. Mara lowered the sword. It is not a dueling blade. It was meant to cut through armor. Shields through bone. You do not flick with it. You Cometa. Solari stepped forward. May I try? Mara handed her the hilt. Solari nearly dipped the tip toward the floor. Too heavy. She adjusted her grip. Mara moved her hands gently wider. Stance hands apart. The front guidelet, the back drive. The Solari attempted to swing. It wobbled. Mara corrected her shoulders. Your hips. The second swing landed harder. Solari felt the pull at the end of the motion. It carries itself. Yes, you do not stop. It too direct. It. The Drox stepped forward. Give it to me. He took the blade and tested its weight. His first strike was brute force. Impact was strong, but rough. Mara shook her head too. Much armless force more structured. The Drox tried again with better alignment. The blade moved smoother. His eyes narrowed in new understanding. It demands respect. Vaylor clasped his hands behind his back. Curd spare. Off half with energy blades, half with inert mass simulators. We compare outcomes. The floor lights activated into sparring zone. Paired with the Celerith Drox, faced a Rithionaut. The signal. The room filled with motion energy. Blades darted in quick jabs. Mass simulators moved in broader arcs. When energy met mass, there was a flash and recoil. The lighter weapons were knocked off. Line. The Drox stumbled once under the weight of a heavy parry. Frustration flashed across his face. Cadet Fuller commanded. Adapt. Mara moved steadily. Her swings were not fast, they were decisive. Each carried intent from start to finish. She deflected an energy strike with a strong angled paratha. Opposing cadet lost footing. Momentum decided the exchange after several rounds. Vaylor raised his hand. Enough. Breathing was heavier now. Uniforms showed sweat at collars. Report. The Rithians spoke. First energy blades excel in rapid engagement, but they lack structural dominance. When forced offline, the Solari followed. Mass blades punish hesitation. The Drox looked at the steel sword resting on the rack. Balance reflex. Purpose. Feller nodded. And what of the human relic? Room remained quiet for a moment. Then the Drox inclined his head slightly toward Marit. Is not badly balanced. It is honest. Mara allowed a small smile. On my world power fails, weather interferes. Mud slows movement. Steel continues. Vaylor studied her carefully. Question it first, because I knew it was not designed for how you were holding it. Different. Iridifferent. Problem different. Solution. She picked up the blade once more. This time she gripped it halfway along the steel. The class stiffened. She thrust forward into a fresh pillar. The tip punched in deep. You can shorten your leverage. For control she withdrew and shifted her grip back to full extension, or widen it for power. Another clean arc split the target. The hall felt different. Now the old weapon no longer seemed out of place among the glowing relics. Vaylor stepped closer. Cadet Ionis Kudo. Humans still train with such weapons. Some do historical study, martial arts, ceremonial guards, but the principles remain in everything we build. Weighty ridge commitment. Solari looked thoughtful. Tools evolve physics, does not. Mara nodded. Exact. Leviler gestured toward the display case. Return it. Mara walked slowly to the platform. She placed the sword back into its cradle. For a moment her fingers rested on the worn leather. Grip hands long gone had shaped that handle. Soldiers in rain, warriors in smoke, people who had no energy, cause only, courage, and steeled. The glass case sealed softly. Combat class 7 prepared to leave, yet something had shifted. The Solari approached Mara. You teach me the stance again. That dawn. Mara replied. The Drox joined them. My will attend. Vela watched in silence as the cadets exited the hall. He looked once more at the human longsword behind glass. Not primitive, not obsolete, simply designed for a world that demanded different answers. The next training cycle saw more cadets request inert mass. Drill stances widened, cuts deepened energy. Blades were still used, but now they were guided with new respect for momentum. At dawn, 3 figures moved across the training yard. Steel simulators traced steady arcs through cold morning air. Breath measured footwork, grounded, no wasted motion. The galaxy was vast, an advanced species, countless technology, brilliant. Yet in the simple rhythm of weight and motion there remained something universal. Force, balance, will. And a human cadet who had lifted an old blade questioned it, understood it, then taught others to see beyond the glow of power cells. The Academy would remember that lesson, not because a pillar was split, but because perspective was changed. Sometimes progress is not about adding more energy. Sometimes it is about learning how to use what you already hold, asterisk.